Welcome back to class time. I'm Georgetta Thomas Legister, and I'll be your teacher for Principles of Business. Today's lesson will focus on marketing. But before we get started, let's look at our objectives. So get your book and a pen, and let's begin. Now, by the end of the lesson, you should be able to distinguish between the terms market and marketing, examine the various activities involved in marketing, and evaluate the principles and strategies used by firms to market their products. So, let's go. Think about it. I want you to identify one advertisement from a local business which seems to appeal to your age group. You know, high school students, teenagers. What about the advertisement that helped you to identify the target group? How does the advertisement increase your interest in the product or service? I want you to write that down. Now that you're thinking about it, are there other ways besides advertisements that businesses use to encourage you to purchase their products or services? Write them down. As we go through the lesson, we will explore those other ways other than advertisement. Now, there are two key terms that we will focus on. So we want to define those terms: market and marketing. Now, when you hear the term market, what comes to your mind? And I can hear the answers at home now. Right. Now, the term market can be broadly described as any situation that brings the sellers and buyers of goods and services together. Now, this may be in a defined, specific physical place, such as your local supermarket, your shoe store, etc. Or it could be a more indirect source, such as the internet, where the buyers and sellers, or the buyer and seller, do not come into direct contact, but trade takes place. Hence, the use of the term situation instead of limiting the definition to a physical place. Now, what is marketing? Now, marketing may be defined as a management process responsible for identifying, anticipating, and satisfying consumers' requirements profitably. Marketing focuses on consumers' demands. So in other words, marketing is consumer-oriented. So as a marketing manager, you market your products with the consumer in mind. Let's move on. Now, there are two broad types of markets that concerns us in this context. One, the consumer market, and two, the industrial market. Now, let us examine the consumer market. You consider yourself a consumer, right? Good. So, what are some of the things that you purchase on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, things that you purchase for personal consumption to satisfy your individual needs? Those items would fall under the consumer market. Wonderful. So the consumer market is a market for products and services bought particularly by individuals. And many types of goods make up the consumer market. You can go ahead and list some of these items. So we move on to the industrial market. What comes to mind? Industrial, coming from the word industry. When you hear of the term industrial market, what comes to mind? Now, the industrial market involves the sale of goods between businesses. These are goods aimed at another business as opposed to the general public consumers. So think about it. As a business, what are some things that you would need from another business? So we think of raw material to carry out the production process, office furniture, vehicles, heavy machinery, etc. All right, so you can add other items to that list of things sold on the industrial market. Now, I did mention that there were two broad categories. Now, with the advancement of technology, the trends such as social media marketing have created additional enhancement to marketing techniques. So social media marketing such as, or social media sites rather, such as, I'm sure you know them, so YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and of course you can add others to the list, and many others. Now, the aim of social media marketing is to produce content that appeals to the users and links with advertising, which increases brand exposure and creates a broader customer awareness. So more persons will know about your product across age groups, across culture. Now, what are some of the things or some of the activities that you believe a marketing manager will be involved in or will have to do on a regular basis? Now, there are a number of activities involved in marketing. Now, how many can you name? Go ahead and write them down. And I'm sure you have some of what I have listed here. So we have market research, advertising, branding, packaging, distribution, sales promotion, and pricing. Now, these are the main marketing activities that we will focus on today. Now, let us explore market research. When you think of the term market research, what comes to mind? So now you know what a market is. Add in the term research. What is a market research? What's the purpose of market research? Now, market research investigates what consumers are buying or are likely to buy in the future. Market research has three broad aims. So let us examine those. One, to find out what consumers want. And with that, businesses will not waste resources producing things that are not demanded. They're not in demand. They're not needed by consumers. Good? Can you think of another? Two, to assess likely demand to ensure overproducing does not occur. So you want to find out, yes, you found out that customers need this item, it's in demand, but in what quantity? How often will customers purchase this item? How much will customer be willing to spend on this item so you do not overproduce? And three, to discover what will influence consumers. And in another lesson, we will look at consumer behavior. We're all different. We don't have the same likes. So we have different tastes. We like different flavors, different colors, different fragrances, right? So as a market researcher, as a marketing manager, you have to find out what influence consumers. And in that way, you will be able to satisfy consumer wants. And once you're satisfying your consumer wants, then you don't have to worry about profits. Now, take a look at this image. Can you identify the next marketing activity that we will move on to? If you said branding, then you're indeed correct. But what is a brand? What is branding? Now, this refers to giving a product a significant registered name. Could be a term or a sign, a symbol, or a combination of these. Design that differentiates the product of a company from that of its competitors. So in other words, your brand allows your product to stand out, to stand apart from that of your competitor. Because we're aware that different businesses, we sell items that are similar in nature. So it's your brand that is going to allow your product to stand out. Now, I'm sure you have some brands that you like. So go ahead and list at least 5 brands that you are familiar with. And we're moving on to look at another activity. Again, take a look at my image. Have any idea which activity we will be looking at? And I'm hearing packaging. You are correct. Now, what's the purpose of packaging? Or what is packaging? Now, this is the way in which a saleable product is wrapped, displayed, and presented to the customer. Packaging can be a wrapping, a bottle, a can, a box. You can go ahead and list other items that are used for packaging. Now, packaging is very crucial as it not only presents the product in an attractive way, but it also gives details about the contents. Packages normally come with a label, right? and any potential hazards, correct method of usage, along with other information. Now, in this respect, packaging serves a number of functions. One, it promotes the product, as I said earlier, because a package is normally branded, and we explored brand. Now, it enhances the appearance of the product. Think about a very old product, one that your parents probably used since childhood. That product is still around, but it's in a new package. So putting an old product in a new package can enhance the marketing potential for that product. The new package attracts customers to the product, right? It protects the product. And that's why you can go in the store, you can touch items, you can examine them without damaging the content, because packaging serves as protection. Good. It preserves the life of the product. You know that some products have short shelf lives. Think about milk. Now, milk has a short shelf life. So whether it's refrigerated or not, it cannot stay for a long period of time. So when milk is packaged in Tetra Paks, and for those who are not familiar with what Tetra Paks are, they're those boxes that have the silver aluminum looking lining on the inside. It protects the package, it protects the product, and allows it to have a longer shelf life. And of course, packaging makes it more convenient for the consumer to handle the product. So you can think about a can that has an easy open lid, doesn't require a can opener, or a bottle that has a handle that you can carry around easily, just like a bag. So it serves as a convenient function. Now we'll be moving on to a very crucial factor in marketing, pricing. Price is crucial. Now when you go out to spend your money, how do you decide how much you spend on a particular item? You look at an item, yes, you like it. How do you decide how much you spend on that item? Yes, you want to ensure that you are getting value for your money. So, pricing takes on different definitions depending on the angle from which you're looking. Now, no matter how attractive a product or service appears, a crucial factor in the marketing process will be the price. Now, the price represents, as I mentioned earlier, a measure of value for the customer. People need value for their money. Now, for the business, what do you think the price represents for the business? Yes, indeed, a profit. It's a profit objective. Good. Think about it. Now, if you designed and manufactured a product for resale, what are some factors you would consider when determining a selling price for each product? Think about it, and we will explore some of those. So there are different methods for calculating your price, or coming to a price that you will sell your final product, the price that you will pass on to your consumers. And we're going to look at the more common ones. The first one is cost plus, sometimes referred to as cost-based pricing. Now, this is the simplest method, and many firms decide to do their price using this approach. Now, it involves taking the unit cost, and by unit we mean the cost per item, the cost for one single item to produce one item. The unit cost, adding your overhead, such as your light bill, your rent for your factory space, etc., and a profit margin. So you might say, I want to make 30% profit. So you add that as markup. So a simple formula for price is unit variable cost plus fixed cost plus markup. Now let us examine variable cost. Variable cost refers to cost that changes over time. They don't remain the same. So for example, the cost of your raw material. Each time you purchase raw material, you get it at a different cost. You might use different suppliers. It might be a different quality material that the products are made from. So those are examples of variable cost. Now your fixed costs are those that they do not change over a long period of time. So for example, your labor costs, the wages that you pay to your workers, and Fixed costs can also be seen as costs that you incur whether or not goods are sold. So whether or not production was good for this month, you still have to pay your workers, you still have to pay your taxes, you still have to pay your rent. Those are fixed costs. So you add unit variable costs to fixed costs, and then that 30% markup that we spoke of earlier to arrive at your final price. Now, another pricing method is what we call market-oriented pricing. Now, with this method of deciding on a price, the seller surveys the market to find out what customers are willing to pay. So you find out what your competitors are selling this item for. So for example, if your competitor is selling the item for $200, then you might want to sell it for $180, somewhere about there, right? To ensure that you are below that rate to lure customers to purchase your goods. Now, with this method, there is one factor, major factor, that the producer should consider or bear in mind. Do you know what that factor is? I'm sure you do. You have to ensure that you're covering your costs that we spoke of earlier. Because if you're not covering your costs, it's impossible for you to make a profit. And from previous lessons, you would have learned that the main aim of going into business is to make a profit. Of course, unless it's a non-profit organization, right? Now, this one is not a very common one, but it is used by some firms. Now, market skimming pricing. Now, this is a pricing policy that involves charging a relatively high price for a product in order to secure a large profit margin. Now, this can only be used by a firm when targeting customers who are not sensitive to price. You know, those persons who don't watch the price tag, they see something, they like it, they're going to get it regardless of what it costs, right? Now, in addition, this can only be used in the early stages of a new product that has a unique feature. And because of the unique features of this product, then it enables the product to command a very high price. Psychological pricing. What is this really? Psychological pricing. Now take a look at these two price tags. $2.99 and a hot price of $99.99. Now, $2.99 sounds reasonable. How about $99.99? I think I'm going to get that item. Now, did you stop to notice that $99.99 is just 1 cent less $100? Thought about that? Now, if you saw $100 and that price tag, then it would send another message. It would seem expensive, right? Same with $2.99, 1 cent less $3. No, it's not a trick. It's not a scam. It's a marketing strategy. So psychological pricing is basically when firms keep their prices just below a certain level so that they appear cheaper to the customer. So it plays on the mind, all right? Now we'll move on. Pricing is something that we will look at in a future lesson, in more details. So this is just introducing you to pricing. Now we'll move on to another activity, marketing activity, sales promotion. Now, sales promotion may be defined as short-term incentives used to encourage the purchase of a good or service. Now, these are usually given to middlemen. You remember who our middlemen are? Yes, the wholesalers and our retailers. And they're also given to customers. Now, sales promotion, again, is another topic that we will look at in a future lesson. However, we want to look at some examples. So I'm sure we're all consumers. You might be aware of some examples of sales promotion strategies. So I want you to go ahead and write them down so we can compare. Good? Now, there are many others, but there are a few examples that we will look at today. And advertising is one major one. Remember, in the introduction, you were asked, are there any other ways that business encourage customers to make purchases other than advertising. And there are others that we will look at. All right? So we will look at advertising in a little. Now, loyalty points is one example of sales promotion strategy. So this is when, after each purchase, you earn points. And at a certain point, when you get certain level of points, you're able to redeem these in the form of a discount on your purchase. Rebate is also another form of, it's a form of refund. So when you spend, when your spending limit reaches a certain level, you get back some of that money that you spend with the business. Bundling. Any idea what bundling is? Bundling is practiced widely by fast food restaurants and telecommunication service providers. So bundling is basically combining products in a package. So it's different products sold together in a package. And in that way, you pay less for the product as opposed to acquiring those products individually. Free samples. Buy one, get one free. We're familiar with that, right? Competitions, whether you have to answer questions or you just submit labels or enter something to win competitions, you get back some of what you spend. It's a way of promoting sales. And another thing about competition is that you normally, in most cases, you normally have to make a purchase in order to enter the competition. So it is a sales promotion strategy. And cash discounts are very common. So you go to the supermarket, and if you buy one item, it will generally cost more than if you buy three. You get a cash discount. Cash discounts are given to encourage customers to purchase more. Wonderful. Now we'll move on to advertisement. What's an advertisement, though? I'm sure you have seen them on TV, heard them on radio. What's an advertisement? Now, an advertisement is a message that uses words, pictures, or sound, or a combination of these. It is a form of marketing communication that also aims to persuade people to buy. Now, there are a number of functions that advertising serves. Let us explore them. Now, advertising is used to introduce new products or services, to persuade consumers to buy. It is also used to create an image in the mind of the consumer. You have a certain image of the business. Advertising also serves to highlight special events such as sales and late openings. It increases market share by stimulating demand. And of course, advertising educates consumers about the products. Now, there are two broad categories of advertising. Now, there are other categories, but these are the two broad categories that we will focus on today: informative advertising and persuasive advertising. Good? Now, informative advertising gives detailed information about the goods or service and leaves the consumers to decide without persuasion whether or not they wish to purchase. Now, the informative advertisement contains useful details such as the product specification, the size, the material that it's made from, ingredients, and so on. Now to persuasive advertising. Persuasive advertising uses a variety of techniques to persuade people to buy a product or service, regardless of whether or not you need it. Now, such advertisements use what we call hidden persuaders to influence consumers. We're going to look at a few examples of hidden persuaders, and you might be able to relate to some of these. Now, the first one is sex appeal. Now, the product claims to make the user attractive to the opposite sex. So, for example, a man's cologne. Have you ever seen an advertisement with a man's cologne and all the girls being attracted to him because of the fragrance that he's wearing, right? So that's sex appeal. Now, another hidden persuader is ambition. The advertisement implies that those who use the product will be successful. So you want to be a part of that group because you feel if you use a particular product that you're associated with success. Personality appeal is another hidden persuader. Famous people are shown using the product. So it might be your favorite movie star, your favorite track star, it could be your favorite DJ or singer. So you admire these persons, so you would want to wear or use the product that they are using. Social acceptability. Now, the advertisement implies that by using the product, the user becomes more acceptable to others. So, for example, the type of bag that you take to school, the shoes that you wear, right? You become more socially acceptable. The type of car that you drive, you're now a part of a particular crowd because of the type of car that you drive. Now, work simplification is another hidden persuader, and the product is claimed to make a task easier to carry out. So, for example, a product that makes dusting easier, washing, cleaning, even cooking. So you can think about an advertisement that makes cooking seem easier. And the final one that we will look at is health. It is claimed that use of the product contributes to good health. Now to another marketing activity, distribution. Now, the saying is true that a sale is not final until the product is in the hand of the consumer. That's the person who will use your product, consume your product and your service, right? Now, how will you ensure that the product gets to the hand of the customer? So you have your factory located in Kingston. How do you ensure that persons in the other end of the island have access to your products? Now, the producer may choose to use short chains in which the producer deals directly with the consumer, or a long chain in which middlemen are used. And who did we say our middlemen are again? Yes, wholesalers, retailers. Now, let us look at the channel of distribution. Now, the term channel of distribution refers to the route by which the products are distributed from the producer to the consumer. And the route that is selected will take certain factors in mind. So let us examine this diagram. Let us look at option number 1. So the product goes from the producer to the wholesaler, to the retailer, and then to the consumer. That's a long chain of distribution. Now, if you look at option 2, we realize that the wholesaler is missing. So the product goes directly from producer to retailer, and there might be a reason for that. So, for example, if you're dealing with perishable items or items that have short shelf lives, you want to get it to the final consumer as soon as possible. So think about bread. If you take bread to the wholesaler, it means that your bread will have to be stored for a period of time before it gets to the consumer. Now, everybody wants fresh bread. You want your bread to get to the consumer hot and fluffy, straight from the oven, right? Now, option 3, the producer is linked directly to the consumer. One factor that will see a business using this chain of distribution is the value of the product. So products that are very high in value, the producer wants to ensure that there is direct contact between the customer and the producer. Things that are high in value and things such as technological devices, where you have to link directly with the consumer. So a marketing manager, a business, will take all the factors into consideration to decide which channel of distribution is used based on the nature of the goods and services that they provide. Wonderful. Now, we can't leave without a challenge. So I know you have listened, I know you wrote down some things, And I know you're ready for the challenge. So I have a few questions that I would like you to answer. So challenge number 1, a firm's best marketing policy should be that the firm be consumer-oriented. This means that A, the customers are very important to get a good profit level. B, prices should be very attractive to all the customers. C, the firm should not bother about its customers too much. And D, the firm should produce goods to meet the needs of its customers. Think about it. Firm best marketing policy should be that the firm be consumer-oriented. And if your answer is D, then you are indeed correct. The firm should produce goods to meet the needs of its customers. Challenge 2. Before starting a business and producing goods or services, it is best to A, do market research to find out what people want. B, make samples and give freely to persuade people to buy. C, employ very few workers at first and then more later. And D, bribe government officials to let you open free of charge. Think about it. Before starting your business, you need to do market research. So the answer is A. Do market research to find out what people want. Very good. Challenge 3. When a producer brings a new product into the market, the best form of advertising would be A, persuasive, B, informative, C, cooperative, and D, defensive. And if you were paying keen attention, you would realize that C and D are distractors. So we're left with A and B. Now, you might debate that it could be persuasive and it could be informative, but we have to select the most appropriate response. So look at the question again. And the fact that it says that the producer brings a new product, the product is new, then the most appropriate answer would be B, informative. You want to ensure that people know about this product, what are the benefits, where can they get the product, etc. Then you can persuade them to buy. So the answer there is B. We're almost there. 2 more to go. Challenge 4. It can be a mark or a symbol, and it gives identity to a particular producer's goods. It is known as A, warehouse, B, package, C, label, or D, brand. And of course, I know you have selected D. It is a brand. And our final challenge for today, identify 5 marketing activities for which the marketing manager of a business is responsible. Now we discussed 6 activities. You can choose 5, any 5 from those. So write them down, and I'm sure you remember this. So if you have market research, advertising, branding, packaging, distribution, sales promotion, or pricing, any 5 from that list, then you are indeed correct. Now we have come to the end of our lesson. If you have any questions, okay, so we have come to the end of our lesson. I'm sure you have learned a lot. So remember that marketing is consumer-oriented, right? And there are different activities that are involved in marketing. Good, so remember that one of the major factors in marketing is pricing your products, and there are different methods of pricing your products. So we have covered our objectives. You're able to distinguish between the terms market and marketing. You're able to examine the various activities involved in marketing. And you should be able to evaluate the principles and strategies used by firms to market their products. we have come to the end of our lesson for today. Now that's it for today's lesson. If you have any questions, send them to Television Jamaica's Facebook page at Television_Jamaica, or use the hashtag TVJClassTime, and I'll answer as many as I can in our next class. Now, Cape Chemistry is next after this short break.